Welcome back to the OpenAI Associate Developer course. In this session, we're going to discuss the user property in the chat.completions.create configuration object. This property is a powerful tool used by OpenAI for tracking and monitoring purposes, and we'll dive into its role and best practices for its use. The user property is used to help OpenAI monitor and detect abuse. This configuration property allows you to pass a unique identifier representing an end user. This user identifier helps OpenAI associate API usage with specific users, which can be useful for tracking and analytics. However, it's important to note that the user configuration property has nothing to do with and is not related to the user role contained in the messages object of the chat completion call. The user role in the messages object defines the role of a specific message in the conversation, while the user property in the configuration is purely for backend analytics, strictly used by OpenAI for now. Since this property can potentially carry sensitive information, it's a best practice to hash the username or any personal identifier before sending the data to OpenAI. Hashing ensures that no personal information is directly sent, maintaining user privacy and security. Now that we've discussed the usage and best practices when using the user configuration property, let's go ahead and jump into our code and see how to implement our chat completion call with the user configuration. Back in our defs file, we will need a new import. Since we'll be hashing the data of our user, we'll use the crypto module in Node.js to hash the user info before including it in the OpenAI configuration. For this, we need to import the crypto package, which is a native package included with our TypeScript install. Next, we'll write a small arrow function, which takes our user information as a string and returns a string of the user's data as a SHA-256 hash. In our example, we will name our arrow function create hash. Next, we simply add the user property to our OpenAI configuration and give the property the value of the hashed user's information. Notice here that instead of just adding the user information as a plain string, we first hash the user's information and send the hash string as our user property's value. Here, we just use our create hash function to set the user configuration value. It is fine to use the hash value since OpenAI just wants a unique identifier to track and monitor usage. They don't need an actual email or name. Go ahead and compile and run your application. Notice the output did not change from your previous run. This is because the user configuration property is only used on the backend and is currently only used by OpenAI. There currently isn't a way for you to see information about the user's statistics, not even in your account dashboard on the OpenAI website. So that's about all there is to using the user configuration property. Hopefully, OpenAI will expose the analytics information to account holders in the future. But for now, know that it is a useful tool to help OpenAI identify and prevent fraudulent requests made using your API keys and organization ID. In our upcoming lessons, we'll continue to explore different properties and how to optimize your interactions with the OpenAI Chat Completion API. Stay tuned, and let's continue enhancing our AI-powered applications together.